He is a legend in this world of technology, a genius engineer who changed the course of history, co-founder of Apple, the man who created the first personal computer and revolutionized the industry forever. His innovations, Apple I and Apple II, marked the beginning of the era of computers accessible to everyone. His ideas inspire millions. His technologies change the world. Today, he is here to share his vision of the future. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a cult figure in the IT industry, an engineer, an innovator, a great inventor, Steve Wozniak.
And also, we are delighted to introduce today's discussion moderator, Mr. Kamran Gulamov.
Good. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. Please give a grand applause to Mr. Wozniak. Steve, we have actually a beautiful evening tonight, and more than 2,000 of our students and more than 500 of IT community of Uzbekistan is here. I mean, Steve can really hardly see you guys, but please give some sound. Woo! So
So cute.
I think today for all of you was a very insightful day, because all day long we've been speaking about artificial intelligence, the blockchain. But before I start our discussion about AI and the blockchain, Steve, I would like ask one of the, maybe it's common question, maybe it's not, but it's so important for our young people to hear this from you. What makes the legend happy? What makes the legend smile? And what is your motivation?
Well, the thing that makes me happy is just when I see other people happy, or even animals like dogs that are happy. I smile.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, Steve, when you first started, the idea of computer in every home seemed impossible. And did you ever doubt your vision? And what kept you pushing forward?
Well, it was a long time ago, and the computers were big, huge, multi-million-dollar mainframes that only companies or governments or the military could afford. Nobody could ever think of a computer for a person. There were no books on computers, no magazines, nothing about it. And a group of us started thinking, with this little chip called a microprocessor, useful computers might be getting close enough that we could afford them. And it just turns out that I had been trying to have my own computer ever since high school. And I had told my father in high school, someday I'm going to own my own computer. And he said it costs as much as a house. So I said, I'll live in an apartment. I was going to have it. And I had the technical knowledge, the engineering knowledge, to watch the prices of parts, know how to combine them, put them together, really well ahead of the rest of the world. I also loved gaming. When computers came to people, were they going to be ugly, awful computers that you had to know how to use? You had to be a computer geek. Or were they going to be fun devices? And I loved gaming, and I'd even designed a game called Breakout for Atari. You've probably seen that. And so the Apple II computer that I designed, all on my own, designed it, built it, tested it, wrote the hardware, the software, did it all. That computer was the first time ever arcade games were in color. Imagine arcade games with no color. That's how it was. Also, it was the first time ever that arcade games were software. A 9-year-old kid with a program called BASIC could make red and blue and colored dots move on a screen and create a good game in one day. Before that, it took hundreds of chips, 1,000 wires, a skilled engineer like myself getting all the signals right on all the wires to feed into a television in the old analog days when it was very awkward mathematical. And so this was a huge change that games were now software. Color was a big breakthrough as well. You have to teach yourself, go through life, trying to do things out of the box that other people wouldn't do, that have never been done, that are in no books. And I was down at Atari thinking, wouldn't it be neat if these games were color? And the old analog colored TVs where mathematical formulas determined how electrons flowed through different devices. In those days, the analog television's color was a certain signal from plus to minus on a wire. And if it came at the right speed and shape, it was color on a TV. And then I thought, whoa, what if I took a digital number out of a computer? Zeros are minuses and ones are plus. 0, 1, 0, 1, up, down, up, down. If I put it into every colored TV, it would violate the mathematical rules of color television. But every color television would think it was valid color. And that's really the reason our first logo at Apple was 6 colors on the logo. I mean, you have to print everything 6 times instead of 1 time.
That's absolutely incredible, Steve. Thank you for this answer. And it actually proves again that you are a hands-on, true engineer, legend engineer. And I think there will be a very important question for our students. How important is it for them to focus on practical project versus theory only? And can you give examples of universities around the globe making more practice in their curricula to make it more efficient?
Yeah, my abilities in a specific field, computer design, were not in schools. There was never a class. There was never a book in a bookstore, even a scientific bookstore. How do you make a computer? Had to piece it together and figure it out over time. But I built all these projects myself. When I was 10 years old, I was a ham radio operator. I took hundreds of parts and soldered them together, no help from my parents, and built a big transmitter and a big receiver, and I could sit with a telegraph key and send messages around the world. These were exciting things. I always tried to follow exciting things. Electronics and digital technology led to exciting things in the world. So what was the question?
So how important is for the students to focus on practical
Right.
projects versus
So, yes, I believe that, it's very important to get some, knowledge out of books, but it's the same thing for everyone. I was very much the high end, the top math student and science student in my schools. But then again, on the side, I was shy. I didn't talk to people. I didn't socialize. So on my own, I went off and I tried to build out of little electronic pieces gadgets that would do interesting things. And being the builder, the actual technician, not just an engineer who can draw a design on paper, but the person that wires it up, hooks it up, shows it off to others, makes it work, was extremely important to me. And I don't think I would have done later in life the things I did for Apple if I didn't have that whole builder approach. This is like the equivalent of, let's say you went to school, even a university, and on day 1, the instructor told you, here's your final project, or pick from the set of final projects. This is it. This is what you're going to build. Meanwhile, throughout the year, we're going to teach you elements of maybe digital logic, whatever, that are going to help you finish your project. But if you finish it on day 1, if you go home and you come back the next day and your project's done, good. You're done with the class. You knew it all. You learned it on your own. Wanting to do something is much more important even than knowing how to do it. But, taking those steps. So I would say, here's a project. You're going to build a certain thing by the end of the course. And as you go along, you'll learn extra techniques that will help you put all the pieces together to build that project and complete the course. And I believe very much in a project-oriented design. It's kind of like the way a master's degree or a PhD works, but it could be for every other class, even down to high school and elementary school.
Steve, if you had to design, we actually discussed earlier this morning that you said most of the engineers they focus on engineering and they lack communication skills. And if you had to design, a modern engineering school curriculum, what subjects or skills would you emphasize the most?
Well, engineering is kind of specific and very mathematical. And I was lucky in designing the computers that started Apple. In designing those computers, I didn't have to talk with a whole group of people. Normally, it would be dozens, maybe dozen engineers at least designing a new computer when they were big, huge monstrosities. Nowadays, it's dozens of people to design a new computer because the market is so huge. Back then was a little point in time where one person with general knowledge of all the different pieces that had to be put together could do it, and I didn't have to go through approve this with the other person, get somebody to do this part of it, somebody else to do that part, coordinate them all, didn't have to manage it. I was just the whole deal. It was so fast to design a great machine that way. I was lucky to be a lone, independent inventor. Some engineers are very smart and knowledgeable about the academics, but some are inventors. They want to build things on their own. And I was so basically, yeah, coming up with something that would impress other people. As a matter of fact, in designing these computers, I didn't want to make money or start a company or start an industry. I wanted the company where I worked, Hewlett Packard, I wanted them to build this personal computer. They turned me down 5 times. The big companies didn't see the value in it. And so I had to do it on my own. And if it's worthwhile, and you know it's worthwhile, it's going to be a product that'll help other people do more in their life. And that's what justified it.
Steve, thank you. Would you like some water?
Yes, I do.
So, Steve, speaking about innovation, we were thinking about, we see different examples now when technology becomes a priority and we always put down the user. I mean, you mentioned that the importance of the user always must be in the top. Can you a little bit speak about it and give us examples which companies are doing bad on emphasizing users and which companies is doing well on emphasizing the users?
Well, one thing I'm glad of is that Apple always stood for users. We started the company and we had a product, and you could learn how to write a program yourself and solve problems in life or business or just play games or solve a puzzle, whatever you wanted to do. And other people started writing programs and selling them. First they were on cassette tapes, and people would buy them, and these were the solutions. And what's the question?
So it was how important that user experience.
Yeah, user experience. Then it came to a point. We were selling our computer. It was going very well. Incredible game machine. And Jeff Raskin joined Apple. Jeff Raskin came in. He explained to Steve Jobs and myself that you can put 2 different models of a computer using roughly similar chips, abilities, but they're all different. And yet one of them can be designed with a lot of work into the design of the computer to make it work the way humans do. In other words, put a lot of work in and it becomes intuitive. When a human tries something, it works. This became very important when we introduced the world to today's computer system with a mouse, menus, words on a screen that might help you solve your problem. And that was very much like we put in a huge amount of software and programming to make it easy for the user. I believe in every product I ever touch, judge it, how good it is, how bad it is, based on how easy it is for a user. Is it intuitive, something that comes to their own mind? Do they get to work in the human way? If the technology is made more important than the human has to modify and learn a lot of different commands and things like that to type in just to use the computer. That means that the technology was made more important. And Apple, especially introducing the mouse with our Lisa computer and later the Macintosh, we said, no, we're going to just try to make it so if a human has an idea and looks at a screen, they can pretty quickly find an answer. For example, let's say you have a bunch of icons, and one of the icons is a paintbrush. What does it do? It paints. It's that simple. It's intuitive. It comes to a normal human's mind. And so the human should always be more important. And I judge every product to this day based upon how the user interface is, the machine and the human, and how does it work for a human without, having to learn special things and memorize things. I claim that your brain doesn't really learn as much as your muscles. Your muscles, where do I go on the screen? How do I get this done? And you do the same thing, habit, over and over and over, repeating, almost like an addiction. And you think, oh, I'm really skilled at this. But if they make a change, wait a minute, why isn't it obvious what I want to do? Why isn't there an easy way to find my way around it? You often get messed up. And I judge products based upon how easy it is for a normal user to use. And you don't have to be a sophisticated user.
Thank you, Steve. So, Steve, do you think we will see another revolution in personal computing, similarly what happened in 1970s and 80s?
Well, everyone's looking for, and actually, if you want to go back to the 70s, it's like every week some new program came out that would run on these little personal computers, and it just changed the world forever. Said, I never believed we'd have this ability in our hands, a database, a word processor, a spelling checker. We'd never have these things. They were the first time ever that humans got those things. Now we're there's less and less of that real dramatic, here's something very new. We have, things came along like Uber, and that was a very new aspect of life. But you have to look and look and look around you. You say, what are the problems I have with life as it is now? What things slow me down? What could be done better? And that's where the ideas and the thinking starts. But you have to be thinking about doing something very new that others don't do, that isn't being done by a lot of people. Because if you get it from your academic skills, you read a book, you learn everything in the book, you answer the test questions, but there's a million people that read the same book and all have the same answers, and they're just as smart about it. So you have to try to be a little more on the excellence side and do things a little better. I remember, especially even in high school, it was important to me if we were assigned the math problems from all the odd numbered problems from 1 to 37. Easy. No, I loved math. If you love something, you do it. I would do every single problem 1 to 50, all the way up, even in odds. If there was a little program to write at the end of the chapter, I'd write it because I loved it. I loved it. There were a lot of designs that I did for people as an inventor while I was working leading up to Apple, and I would always charge them 5 cents. The first hotel movie system in the world for a guy in Hollywood. I designed it, and I charged him 5 cents. And I did all sorts of other time codes for television. I would always charge 5 cents because that proved to me that I was doing it because I loved it.
Thank you, Steve. Steve, artificial intelligence is now shaping future. At least we have this kind of feeling. And in your opinion, how should society and industry embrace AI to maximize its benefits while mitigating risks?
Well, the main thing about AI is something that we're all pretty much aware of. Be aware of the risks. If you know what they are, if you read something that came from AI, you should be told it's from AI. You should also be told, where did that AI scrub the internet? Which databases did it collect its knowledge or its ability to express knowledge from other people? It doesn't really have knowledge of its own. And you should be told that, but also you should be able to click on anything that came from AI and find out what research or what article it came from, so you can go back and check it, maybe on the internet, to see if it's valid or not. A lot of people just want to pass it on and don't develop their own skills in their head for dealing with things in the world. Sounds good, it's well written, it's good English, good language. I'll just pass it on as AI. But first of all, that AI scrubbed parts of the web to get its information. Maybe it scrubbed a company like Amazon and pulled out all the information about Amazon users. First of all, Amazon should approve it. Second of all the individual users should approve it. Yes, you can have my data for AI, or you can't. And that's not done. AI is not regulated at all. So I'm hoping that will change. AI is very useful if it gives a human ideas that might inspire them to try to do something new and different that AI doesn't come up with. Also, when you do really good things in the world, you have a good positive feeling inside, an emotion, a good emotion about those things. AI has no emotion at all, no emotional content. It doesn't laugh or cry. So, be aware of what the problems can be. AI is, don't, everything AI returns, you say, oh, this sounds good, this sounds good, this sounds good. And you believe it all. But we find out that in 20% of the cases, there are falsehoods in there. So you be aware of it, and especially before you pass it on as being coming from yourself. I would like to point out, we've had a lot of different types of AI as computers improve, algorithmic intelligence. A computer tries to guess what you're going to do, which is horrible when it's wrong. And we have what we call artificial intelligence. I believe in the A, but not the I, because I was a psychology major, and the brain, how the brain works, we don't know. We don't know what intelligence is. We don't even know our memories are in the brain. And so you all have AI. Everyone in this room has AI, actual intelligence.
Thank you, Steve.
And students are.
So, Steve, do you think that artificial intelligence will ever reach a point where it can truly replace human creativity and engineering ingenuity? I mean, is that ever possible, you think?
Yeah, believers in AI say that that's where it's going to happen. It could happen that somehow AI, just combining all these elements of knowing how to put words together from other people have said, maybe that can lead to the aspect that we have as intelligence in our brains, and it can come up with new things. I don't see any sign yet that it's getting there. AI pretty much is really good, like almost a search engine. It's a good reporter, goes out and gets a ton of information and expresses it very well. But then the human that receives it should be an editor and decide what's important, be able to speak it themselves and convince other people of it, not just forward it to them in email. But the human is always important. And in the end, this world's going to be, AI is going to help humans get better ideas than they would have had.
So, Steve, as AI is emerging, it can't function without quantum computing. And what do you think the impact of quantum computing on the tech industry in the future?
Quantum computing has been interesting to me for decades and decades, because it has all this promise of being so far ahead in what it can accomplish than normal computers. Computers run electrons in certain patterns and devices that make decisions. Quantum computing just follows a set of mathematics and returns infinite results all at once. In theory, that's really good. We haven't seen any practical uses that have come out of quantum computing yet. We have to keep working on it. I believe very strongly that we might be able to get there. I also think we should be working on photonics, trying to develop. Right now, we have chips that do all of our thinking for us in our phones and everything. And electrons flow through those chips in certain patterns, and they make decisions, and they're programmable. And what if it was, electrons don't move at the speed of light? A lot of people think, oh, they move at the speed of light. No, it's actually an electron wave that moves a lot slower than the speed of light. What if we had light traveling instead of electrons? All light in a chip, making decisions. It would be hugely faster. Do we need faster chips? Well, if we ever get to like the metaverse with VR 10 times this way and 10 times that way, 100 times the bandwidth of today, we could use certainly higher speed, but lower power as well. Photonics would mean that, for example, you need certain logical devices. One of them is called an inverter. For a photonics inverter, you'd put a blue light in, you get a red light out. But if you put a red light in, you get a blue light out. It's whatever the modulation scheme is, red and blue in this case. And you need a gate, a logic gate that makes decisions like a light switch on the wall. For example, if two blue lights come in, a blue light comes out. Otherwise, a red light comes out. You would need these kind of structures, and we're very close to building that photonics chip someday. It's been a long time coming, just like quantum computing, but that's something that's in my hopes.
Thank you, Steve. But what is your, we see these technologies emerging and a lot of companies, universities putting a lot of research investments on those technologies. Is there anything that you are concerned? Is there anything that you think that is in we can have an over reliance on smart technologies? What is your concern on that?
Yeah, many people are very concerned about this, especially in the day of AI, but even without AI, putting in little tiny decisions. If this and that happens, then we do this. Trying to have computers think for humans has dangers for humans, that they could make decisions on their own that could even lead to life and death. So we always want to avoid that, but we can't do anything about it. You just can't stop technology from increasing and getting developed. It's going to be everywhere. All you can do is be aware of it. Regulation is about the only thing we can do about such products, such as an AI that will go out on its own and try to kill somebody or something like that. So it can be used both ways. AI is very good for us, but it could be very bad if we don't constrain it and control it. And there are some very evil people that get behind this kind of use of technology. Any way I can use technology to enhance my own wealth or something, that they like to go out and they don't put restrictions on, like ethics or morality, any of that. And it's difficult to say. The trouble is, the way business works is everybody just wants to make more money.
Yeah, that's true. And so we would like to understand that as AI is having such issues, and I mean it's under-regulated. We need some regulation, but the technologies and innovations that you made throughout your life has transferred the lives for millions of people. So you've delivered this innovation to millions of people, and really it's kind of accelerated the global admission of all this. And you must be feeling happy for this, that you've helped millions of people with that. But is there anything that you regret, anything that makes you a little bit sad, that I should not be doing that?
Well, you said it correct. I just wanted people to have more in their life and realize that with technology, they can do things they could never have done without the technology or done in the past even. And that's been just such a huge benefit to us. One of the problems is the way business organized itself, and business plans got developed, and young people who want to start a company with a great idea, they have to say, well, here's how we're going to make money. We're going to charge people to subscribe. So I wind up subscribing to this, subscribing to that. Every time I just want to look at a product to see what's about it online, I wind up having to subscribe to something. I wind up getting a lot of spam email, and that bothers me. It wasn't really intended to ever turn out this way. When we started Apple, it was a very different world than what you have today in your hand. The amount of memory that would hold one song then cost close to $1 million. Do you think we foresaw the day when you'd have a little chip with 500 movies on it? It was very hard to see the future. How far do we go before it stops, before it hits a limit? And it's amazing how far it's gone. But the technology, the companies tend to be more important than the people. For example, I have a car, and I might set the temperature in the car to something I like, and I'll go walk the dogs. And when I come back to the car, somehow the company that makes the car changed the temperature setting. Why'd they change it? Don't I own it? I don't feel like I own things as much as I used to. Music. Everybody wants you to subscribe to streaming services. No, I like certain music. I loved it all my life. I put on big music festivals. I want to find certain songs. I want to pay money. I want to buy them. I want to have them in my hand and own them, the feeling of ownership. So I miss a lot of things didn't turn out the way I would have preferred. It's hard to get around it. And I don't know how that's going to change, but I'm for it. For example, let's say that you could develop an online using a blockchain or something, a social web that works very much like Facebook, but doesn't go through any company. No company is in the center of it. There's no ownership. It's just like everybody's computer individually running programs learns how to communicate and keep friends list and everything. That would be great. Now you can't really be used. It's all yours. You really do own it. So I'm hoping that things like that will happen from bright engineers.
Thank you, Steve. I will dare to do to take a little bit deviation from the topic. Most of the people here, you guys maybe probably don't know that Steve was organizing big musical festivals, and this was very specific and not the extraordinary music festival during the Cold War. And Steve, could you because I wanna help my audience to explore you a little bit. Can you tell about this story of diplomacy that you did?
Sure. I have always been try to be liked by everyone. Don't argue with people. Don't get mad at them. Goes back to other parts of my life. But I've always been into working together. Huge music festival I put on in California was called the US Festival. Us means all of us. We all work together rather than compete. And and that's just how I've been. Now, this festival was huge. Sold 1 million tickets. We had it was the first time ever in the United States we had a video screen on a concert. If you can imagine, it's a long time ago, but it was first. I like to do things first. Largest stage ever, the first time ever delayed sound systems in the middle of the amphitheater. And we had a chance. It turned out that the United States NBC, the television network, had taken over equipment to Moscow to broadcast the Olympics in 1980. But Russia invaded Afghanistan, and the United States backed out of the Olympics. But the equipment was over there. We made contacts with the right television people in Russia, and we set up the very first space bridge, it was called. Via satellite, we had video going both directions. This had never been done before. And one of the things that I saw, I had Americans talking to Russians during the Cold War, finding out that we're the same. We have the same needs and wants, and we enjoy the same things and smile about them. And all the propaganda of the governments that you're dire enemies disappeared and it filtered out. And so I spent a lot of my life working on this personal diplomacy, friendship between the two countries. Eventually, we got to perestroika. I even put on the first large concert outside of Moscow in a stadium with top American groups and top Soviet groups, Russian groups by then, perestroika. And this was important to me. I even paid the way I donated to computers in Russia and all this stuff. This is doing good things for the world. And I paid the way for 340 low-level Russians, not the high level, not the communists, low-level Russians like teachers to visit the United States, travel the United States for 2 weeks each, staying in the homes of people. Because once you get to know them, the friendship comes. And a lot of progress was made in terms of friendship. We could use that again.
This is absolutely incredible, Steve, and this proves us again that even though we are engineer, we are business people, we are a medical student or a physician. It's so important to have this responsibility and think out of the box, organizing these kind of things, which seemed almost impossible during the 1980s. It was when technologically it was impossible, and also it was impossible because of the geopolitical situation.
Yeah, what I did got a lot of publicity in the Soviet Union, but almost none at all in the United States. The United States didn't care a bit about peace efforts.
That's really interesting. So, Steve, most of us are, the story of Apple from its establishment. It's very important, like very interesting for us and for our students to hear about what was the what is the biggest or funniest story that you remember from the early days of Apple that we could remember from this meeting, which is not really, maybe it's not public, maybe even it's public, but can you share?
Read my book, I Was, and you will find a lot of funny stories. Yeah, I can't pick out one right now. And a lot of times I go back to funny stories in my life. They were technical, maybe, but they were before Apple even. And Apple. I just continually do that. One was first year of college. And I could, by then, I had all the top college entrance scores you could get, and I could design computers. I'd go to MIT. Nobody could design computers then. But I flew with some friends, my first time ever out of California, to Colorado, and it was in the snow. It snowed that night. I had never been in snow. This was just too amazing an experience. So that was the only campus I would apply to, even though my parents could only afford 1 year there. And you got to follow your heart, But while I was there, I'd been a ham radio operator with transmitters and the like since I was 10 years old. So I built a little device that fit in my hand that would jam a television. And the old televisions were a lot different than today's. And I'd broadcast a little signal and the television would go black. And there was one color TV on campus. Only one TV was color in those days. Went over to the basement of a girl's dorm and we watched color TV. And I turned on my jammer and it fuzzed up the picture. A friend of mine hit the TV. And I made it go good. So then after a while, I would jam it again. He'd hit the TV harder and harder to make it good. For weeks, they would sit somebody in a chair next to the TV, and it was their job when it went bad to try to fix it and get it working again. So it was like a real fun prank. People would get up there and tune a dial, and TV would go good. They'd pull their hand away, it'd go bad again, because I controlled the good and bad. And they never caught me in the dark. And then they put their hand back and they try to figure out what made it work, and had a lot of fun. It's in my lot more stories about that are in my book even.
Yeah. By the way, who haven't a chance to read his book, we do suggest, because it's really a lot of funny stories. And you said that it was from your mouse, and there is no any.
Yes. Yeah. And writing a book, oh my gosh, I had offers and offers for years and years and turned them all down. Finally, I accepted one, and the publisher said they wanted to hear it out of my own voice. So I would speak into a microphone and record all my recollections of my life into a microphone, and then we'd send it off to where someone would actually translate it into words on a typewriter. There was no dictation software then. You couldn't put it into a computer. So a human being would do that and make a lot of mistakes. And I had to spend an extra month correcting every mistake in every chapter. But the book is I Was, and it's just about computing. Everything in life that's productive should have an element of fun. Joke with your friends you're working with, do fun things with them. That's just a part of my philosophy.
So it's so important to have fun, because you shared early your formula of happiness with us. I don't know, can we really disclose it?
Oh yeah, I was 18 years old, and it was probably that first year of college even. And I was in my parents' house and reading a magazine article about a guy named Sumner Redstone, CEO of Viacom Media Company. And he was flying off to one city to sell a $500 million of today's dollars company. And then he'd fly the next day to another city to buy a $500 million company. I thought, wow, to have that much control over that much money, that much power, would I want to be that person? And I was laughing at a joke I had played, maybe a TV jammer. And I said, on the day I die, I'd rather be laughing about a joke. So I said, life is not about accomplishment for me. It's about happiness. What makes you happy? And to me, what makes me happy is internal feelings. Smiles are good. Frowns are bad. So I do a lot of things especially if you can create your own jokes. There's a lot in common with creativity and humor. Make your own jokes, play your own pranks, have fun with things you're doing in life. That'll make you smile. And to avoid frowning, look at what makes you frown and say, I'm going to stop doing those things that make me frown. and arguing. I would never argue with anyone. They can have a different opinion, different reasoning, different logic in their head, but they have a good head and I have a good head. We're both good people. We just disagree. And I just thought of the world that way. And also, if something really goes bad and you want to frown and frown, oh, darn it, somebody stole something from me or they banged my car, forget it. Just take what is constructive that you can do. Take your car to the body shop and get it repaired. Take constructive steps to get past all these things. They aren't things that have to bother you for life. So that was my formula. Happiness equals smiles minus frowns. H equals S minus F. And I've lived by that every day till now. It also led me to things like, if somebody's bad to you, you're still good to them.
Yeah, so guys, one of the main takeaways is, you see now Steve is in our stage, and he's as a normal human being like we are. And one of my personal takeaways, and I think you can also write it down for you, is it's so important to have passion in life and stay focused on the things that you do and makes you happy. And he's in a golden age. He's 75 today, and he's happy because he was happy for the things that he's doing. And in order, if you wish that for yourself, just make sure that you are you do love what you do. What do you think about it, Steve? I mean, do you agree with me?
No, my whole life was all based around, even my technical life was based around following things that are interesting, that they would make movies about, following people, even if they're a little bit on the criminal side, if they're interesting, that, things that make you smile. And that's the passion. Always have passion and care a lot about what you're doing and believe that it's right. Believe in yourself. That is self-confidence. When you show self-confidence, you'll convince other people to join you, including investors.
Thank you, Steve. So, dear guests, dear students, I think we still have a little bit time to take some questions from the audience because, I was trying to provide the questions which were basically, on the notes. So if the assistants will help to forward the mic, we will take a couple of questions from the audience, please.
I see a hand waving.
Hand wave.
I see a hand waving.
Yes. Mikrofon veriyle bolle. Boris zalgisi vet yoqib qo'ysa yaxshi bo'lardi. Ziyora. And can you give the mic to him, please? I don't know. Give us a minute.
Well, somebody's getting close to you with some kind of microphone or camera.
Oh, nice. Now we can see the audience.
Come on up. Huh.
Yeah.
We should have had a
Mikrofon
line.
beri oraya.
I see more hands back there.
So he's coming. Yeah. Tez aç. Давай.
Assalamu alaikum. Steve, first of all, thank you for being with us. Welcome to Tashkent. Secondly, you just can sit.
Take a seat.
It's okay.
Okay.
Secondly, thank you for your being just in our universe. You just made a great impact for the whole humanity. Apple 1, Apple 2. And thirdly, I would like to congratulate you with your anniversary. Next year is 50 years of Apple 1. That's just incredible. And you just mentioned some jokes in your book, and one of the great things that I just was amazed reading your book is about you giving away your shares while IPO of Apple to those who didn't get shares. That's just amazing. And I personally think you as one of the great startuppers. So looking at your level right now, being one of the best, what would your startup would be? What is the problem that you would like to solve right now, giving a new startup? Just your own idea of a startup. Thank you.
Sure. I mentioned one idea earlier, which is sort of a social network that doesn't have any center, any ownership, any company owning it. The right kind of software could do that. And also, if I were to look back at myself way back then, the piece of advice I'd give myself: rob a bank. When you have zero money, you have to learn to make things cost very little so you could build them yourselves. And you have to, almost everything I did at Apple that turned out great was things that I'd never done or experienced or learned about in university or anything. It's just that I had a mind to always figure out the best way to do things if there was a new type of part. And these days, it's very tough to say. It would be technology. You know, I might want to come up with a way to make a table with fewer steps. But whatever it is, it'd have to be more efficient than before. Yes. And not taking advantage of people. Have to be very, very strong ethics, which is truth. To me, all the good things you do in your life, including where I gave away, huge amounts of my stock to some early people that should have been called founders, and also to everybody in the company, so they each got a house out of the deal. I just believed I didn't do this for money. You know, 3 of us had infinite money, and I didn't do it for that. And we're all working for the same company, so everyone deserves to be considered in that case. I don't like the distribution of wealth being so awkward in the United States. I like it better the way it is in Canada, New Zealand, Australia, Western Europe.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Next question. Mikrofon ver orası. Yeah.
Microphone's going to move around.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Good morning, sir. Good afternoon. First of all, my question is that is it possible to make it Apple Intelligence in Uzbekistan, because it is restricted? That's why most of the people are buying Samsung phones. Now the statistics showed that 1 million people of Uzbekistan are buying Apple with the perfect camera shot and stability. But if it's possible to make it Apple Intelligence in Uzbekistan, it will be maybe 2 million people for buying it. Thank you.
Did you get it? No.
Did you get it? We got a lot of
I think we didn't really get your question. Can you come again?
Apple Intelligence is not working in Uzbekistan.
Okay.
Yes. Is it possible to make it in Uzbekistan?
Basically asking how when do you think Apple Intelligence will function in Uzbekistan? Like how this market is considered for them?
I'm sorry, I don't have any operational roles in Apple, so I don't know how those business type decisions get made. I think that when something's introduced, it should be for the entire world. Remember that when I designed that first computer, Steve Jobs wasn't even around. He didn't know it existed. And I took it down to the club and I passed out all my designs for free. Make it open source. Give it to everybody that wants to change the world and improve the world and start a revolution. That's just how I think. And why should something be held back and restricted from the entire world? But I'm not into business because maybe I wouldn't go along with the way they think. It's like protecting territory.
Maybe answering your question, Steve, is that all the innovations reach all the humanity, and he's not in operations. He's not the business guy. So if he was probably in Apple, he would be opening for us. But it's a different story. So next question.
Thank you.
Here, they have a queue. So the guys, let's respect each other. So we do one by one, okay?
Thank you, Steve Wozniak, for coming to Uzbekistan. And I have got one question for you. I'm also really interested in robotics and IT, and I make robots at home. And how I can be like you, how I can make company like Apple, and how can I change the world?
Good question.
That's the most important thinking in the world. Everyone should think that way. Startups are the best, greatest thing for the economy of the world and for people that work so hard and feel so grateful afterwards that it was the most fun in their lives. Things like robots, you can come up with ideas that you usually will be given a certain set of parts, a little bit of money, build a robot that does this or that, but you should think on your own. What could I do they haven't thought of yet? Is there some clever thing that would help people in society? One example would be, could I make a robot that all night long washes my car in the garage, 1 square centimeter at a time? Could I make that? If a young person starts thinking that, paying attention to every bit of engineering that goes along the way to making that robot, at an affordable price, it could happen. It would be the most popular thing in the world. Or a robot that can actually wash dishes. Yeah, and it might have to learn how to touch things and break a few on the way, but it really takes strong passion and belief in the end result to get there. And that's part of what was projects versus academics. Actually building things is incredibly useful. You know that your artificial intelligence can't build it for you. Might give you some good ideas.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next question.
Excuse me.
So, hi, and my question is, what was your inspiration to create your $2 bills?
What was my inspiration to create my $2 bills? All my life, I have loved things that are unusual, that other people don't do. For example, I entered Uzbekistan on my Serbian passport just because I could. I mean, I used my American passport to get out of America, and on the airplane, I switched to the Serbian passport to come into Uzbekistan. Why? No purpose. It's just unusual. Okay, long time ago, very unusual bill in the United States currency, the $2 bill. The $1 bills, the $5 bills, $10 bills. Almost nobody uses $2 bills. So I started going to the bank and collecting them and making them into a check pad, one after another after another. And then one day my own son told me that he saw a sheet of them on a window, and I thought he was full of it. And I went down one time and I found that, yes, you can buy sheets of 4 specimens, 8 specimens, 16 specimens, 32 specimens from the US government. And then I could cut them up and make pads, like 50 sheets, like a pad of paper with a cardboard backing. And I could make pads and pads of these $2 bills. So you see a sheet of $2 bills. $2 are unusual. A sheet is even more. Most people don't know you can get them on sheets, and they're perforated. So you can tear off 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 on every page. And then I go out and I make it sound like they're probably counterfeit. And what I do is I sell a sheet of 4 $2 bills for $5 to people at a dinner table. I'll sell a whole batch of them, and I tell people the truth. They didn't cost me $8. The 4 $2 bills did not cost me $8. Why? They cost me $12. You have to pay more to get them on sheets, but they really did start with the U.S. government. And I don't know, I enjoy it. It's so different. It's just whoever else does that. It's like when I first made my business card out of metal. Nobody knew how to make them out of metal, and it was super expensive. But I just like to be a little different. It's like being first at things. But
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Here. Hello. My name is Mukash. I'm here. This way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the guys in orange, it's my team. So we came from Kyrgyzstan, especially for this event. And then there is like football and the other stuff. Then my question is, how important when you building a team and the empathy and the courage about your team, and can you give some tips for inspiration the young generation for the work with and kind of things?
Yeah, my personal ideas come from my own children. When they got jobs, when they liked their jobs, they liked the people they were working with on their team. And when they didn't like their jobs, they didn't like the people. And I saw that companies, even like Apple, when you're assembling a project, you put together a team based on skill sets. We need somebody that does this, somebody that knows that part, somebody knows this part, and hire them from the universities. But it's not like a psychologist saying who's going to be very similar in life and doing the same things, going to the same music and enjoying the same books. Getting people that are very compatible on a team is probably the most important thing.
So first, our friends from Kyrgyzstan, so get more children, right? Thank you. So next question. Next question.
Hey Steve, it's nice to have you here. You're a legend. Um, my question is, do you think nowadays the modern companies are focusing on the business side rather than focusing on the invention? Like
Of course I
inventing
do, because modern companies in technology are so huge these days that who makes a decision? Who makes that decision? You think, oh, the CEO and the top executives make that decision. Oh no, they don't own the company. They have bosses, and the bosses are the shareholders, people that buy stock in a public company. You and me and everybody in this room, we buy stock. Do you care about your company doing good things? No, you only care if your stock goes up or down, the money. So the pressure is always on whatever will make the most money. And I don't know a way around that.
I get it. Thank you. Thank you.
Next question.
Hi, Steve. What personal challenge or turning points in early life influenced your passion for technology and innovation? Yeah.
Uh,
Yes. Well, yeah, my passion for technology and also electronics before that. You value what you are good at. When I was 8 years old, I was the smartest math student in my class. So I thought of myself, I'm good at math. And I paid a lot of attention to it and came up loving math. I learned some early electronics. I went to science fairs with projects that when I look back on them, they were incredible for my age and size. And I was good at it, so I valued it, became important to me. You know what you're good at, and you keep going in that direction. I was shy and not social, so I worked on my own projects that I felt good about that had taught myself, never compared to other people. A lot of accidents along the way, made me. I discovered things by accident. I discovered journals in a closet. I discovered a manual in a company, and I started learning more and more about computers based on what other people had done. When we at Apple put out my own computer, I made sure we published all my designs and all my software so that other people could look at it and see that's how it works. That's how you do it, and could also discover this is what I love for life. It's my passion in life. When I was about 9 years old, I discovered a journal that had the stories about ones and zeros that computers used. And I learned how on paper I could add ones and zero numbers. And I said, this is going to be my passion for life. If I had discovered crossword puzzles, maybe that would have been my passion for life. But at least I always knew what I wanted to be. I was going to be an electrical engineer, actually. And I didn't think computer design was part of engineering. Engineers designed radios and televisions, the old analog stuff. They didn't design digital computers. But I got very good at digital computer design and just loved doing it for myself. So who knows what all the little accidents in life, what you run into that pleases you, but you got to follow your heart, what you think is right for you.
Thank you. Guys, can we give up the phone to the ladies? I mean, boys, there is a lady here in this queue, I see. Can we give her a mic, please? Women empowerment in Central Asian University.
Thank you. My name is Yana.
Donald Trump would fire you.
What is more for business, time or product?
She's asking what was important for your innovation. Is it time or product?
Time.
Deadlines, you know.
Oh, no. Product.
Time.
Only product. I was a sole inventor. I was lucky. And I did things 10 times faster than any company could have done them because I never had to work with teams, other types of people. I could do everything myself. If I was figuring out how the chips will fit together on a board and I could save 3 little holes being drilled in the board, I'd go back and change the design. I was a designer too. And then I'd go lay out the board with 3 fewer holes. I would just do these things. I just love to, show off my abilities. Like I said, I didn't really necessarily want to start an industry or a company or make money. I wanted other engineers to look at my work and say, oh my gosh, he was look, how did he come up with this? I wanted them to be impressed. And I'm getting those honors these days.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Wozniak. I'm here.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. I have a very interesting question for everybody sitting today who is a programmer. Okay, the question is this. Do you believe the rise of AI will lead to the extinction of programmers in the nearest future, and how realistic this prediction is?
I don't believe that AI will result in the elimination of programmers. There may be temporary altercations, but the reason is it's never really come about that way. Whenever you really fear something new that's going to change the world so drastically, it doesn't really come to fruit to be real.
We have to invent something new.
Yeah, and like I said, how are you going to? You just can't do that. I mean, AI, for example, as I pointed out, is only a tool that we people will be able to use. And if there are any jobs that disappear, the total economy results in replacing those jobs with the equivalent number. The entire GDP, your company's production, is all that wealth, that amount is going to go into a certain number of jobs, no matter where they are.
So something great is coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Thank you. Next question here.
Hello, Mr. Steve Wozniak. Hello, Mr. Kamran Golan.
You can speak louder.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for coming to our homeland. We are happy to see you here. Kamran Golan, thank you for organizing this nice summit. It's very well organized. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to a person like Steve. And Steve, you are well known for your big heart because you were staying a good friend to Steve Jobs throughout the whole life, no matter what kind of business relationships did you have with him. And as mentioned, Kamran Gulam, you were organizing festivals which were uniting people throughout the world. So the question is, if there is, no matter how much resources it will need, what kind of project or what kind of idea will impact to the global problems mostly? First question. And what kind of tip do you have to unite people throughout the world? What kind of hint do you have?
Well, I believe that you can serve as an example to others and speak clearly that you really want to be, that all the people of the world are all people, and you should all be close, work together, be friends, have common business and trade associations. Open economies is the best way to become close to all the other people in the world. Whatever you do in life, you should always try to be good for beneficial to people in their feelings about the world and themselves.
Thank you. So, guys, we are pretty much on time. So we are getting last two questions only from ladies. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Steve. So I'm a medical student who studies at this university. So my question is also connected with our medical sphere. So even if our sphere is not directly connected with software engineering or IT, we cannot imagine our lives without the implementation of AI or technology. So even we have fears that in the future robots can replace doctors. But I think we should be that much smart and educated doctors so that in the future no robots should replace our sphere. So as a genius in this engineering IT, what do you have a say to medical students or future doctors? What we should do so that in the future no robots should replace us? Like what kind of technological advancements we have to implement in our medical sphere? So this is my question.
Yeah. Well, innovation is the best thing in the world because you have a passion, you're excited about it, you have to think so differently. You have to take a different course than people have taken before, but still have a good result at the end. So I'm always in favor of that sort of thinking, innovation, creativity, making new things, and don't give up on it. Don't just do the same things everyone else is doing.
So even in the medical, because you have to think a different way. That's he was.
Although, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. And think, but as soon as you get out of college, are you going to work on your passion? Maybe not. The first thing that's most important when you get out of college or university is you have to afford a home or an apartment. You need an income. Take a job. The first thing is important to get a job. But if you're still young, you have a lot of time besides your job that you get hired for, if it's in the wrong category for you. You have a lot of time to work on your own on projects and come up with your own thinking and convince others that you have a new approach, and that's innovation.
Thank you. Next question.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
It's a simple question. What do you think is the modern equivalent of what was once a computer?
Can you come again, please, and louder?
Yeah. What do you think is the modern equivalent of what was once a computer? Like, do you think it's virtual reality or something like that?
Well, I'll tell you, after reading the book Ready Player One, I wanted to be a part of a world of, a meta world, virtual reality and all that, but you can't do it full time. That's the problem. A lot of these advancements in technology will attract you for a while, but they don't really lead to productivity. So it's very difficult to have an answer to what you're saying.
There's maybe
I don't understand
a lot of things. So guys, we are pretty much done, but I see a young boy here who would like to ask a question. We'll take this as the last question, guys.
So,
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Timur. So, what should I do to become a founder or co-founder of a big company like you?
Well, first of all, good. You already want to be one. Yes. Wanting is the important thing that will lead you to that someday in your life. You're going to spend a lot more time thinking about what can I do. And don't worry about it. Just believe in yourself and you'll get there. Whenever you spot some friends, usually by the time you get to a university, you're around smart people that want to be business, that have some good thinking, that are good engineering maybe, and you can put together a group that can create a new product that didn't exist before. You have a chance to be a part of that, even if you have to drop out of school for a while. Remember, we started Apple Computer without college degrees. I had 3 good years done. It was 10 years later when I had an airplane crash, I went back to college as a psychology major to get my degree at Berkeley. But, so you can always make up for the schooling in a later year. But if you have a chance to be in a startup, it's the most exciting, fun thing in the world. And be proud of what you're doing. When we started Apple, I was so naive. I thought that anybody who starts a company, their company goes on with that name forever, lasts forever like Apple has. And they don't get bought out and consumed by other big companies and forgotten. I thought once we started a company called Apple, it'd be there forever. But I didn't know that much about business.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can you give me your signature?
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it.
We'll figure out a way to do that.
Yeah. So thank you very much. I mean, I'm really sorry. I mean, I will try my best that Steve, you want to take one more? Yeah, you want to take one? Okay. Can you give a mic here, please? Yeah.
Hello, Steve.
Hi.
First, welcome to Uzbekistan. Welcome to Central Asian University. I have a really interesting question. If you had the opportunity to go back and give advice to yourself, what advice would you give yourself?
Can you come again, please? If you go back where?
If you had the opportunity to go back and give advice to yourself, what advice would you give yourself?
Well, I would have said when I was young designing these things, rob a bank. you had a little bit more money, I could have done a little better job in those earlier computers. But you're limited sometimes by just what you can afford. Other advice was you did everything right. And the main thing was I was going to be truthful. I would tell everybody, this is how it is. This is what I see. This is what I believe in. This is what the computer can do for people. And never make up a story that sounds good. Only if you know that it's true. So follow truth.
Thank you. So thank you, everybody. I know that there is a lot of questions left, but I will try my best. Keep bringing Steve every year. Thank you very much. Thank you, Steve. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.